podcast. So thanks everyone for joining myself, who's Rich, and Lee this morning. This is the fourth in our series of Demystifying Marketing webinars. And this morning we're talking about digital marketing simplified. So I'm Rich from Agency for Good. So we're an ethical marketing agency, and we give around about 25% of our time for free to charities and social enterprise. And we really care about impact, basically, and that's the whole reason for us running these webinars as well. So Lee, you'd like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so hi everyone. So I'm Lee Hart from Unbranded Digital. So we are a data-driven agency, currently in Building, but soon moving to Bradford at Hope Park. And we specialise in crafting digital strategies which have impact and delivering on our promises to deliver results. And we actually offer results-based marketing services where if it doesn't work how we say it will and expect it will, then we'll actually give you money off your marketing or entirely for free. So for us, it's about being transparent and it's about being effective. And hopefully this webinar will help you to do both much better in the future webinars to follow. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Cool. Cheers, Lee. So we've got a lot of things because we want to just give you as many tips as possible. So it's going to be fast and furious this morning. So feel free to ask questions in the chat as we go along. We'll try and stop to answer them, but if not, there'll be time at the end for questions. Also, raise your hand if you want to chat in here as well, and we'll see what we can do. So let's get cracking. So talking about digital marketing simplified. So the first few webinars that we've done have been around strategy. They've been around messaging and communications and PR as well. So it's so important to have a plan when looking at digital marketing. It's not just a case of getting stuff out there. And I know a lot of you know that because at least 3 of you that are on this call are marketers yourselves as well. So have a strategy. People who actually document the strategy are 538% more successful. These stats are from HubSpot, by the way. From surveys of 7,000 to 8,000 people, and some of the other stats that are throughout this presentation, so with a lot of background to them. And those who actually document the processes through this are a whole heap more successful, 466% more successful. Just writing it down, it just really helps. But it's really important with all digital marketing to have that plan, but also be consistent with all of your communications and brand across all the channels, the multi-channels in there as well. With a strategy, so this comes from the first webinar we did that was looking at simplifying marketing basically. And these are 10 questions to ask yourself in all aspects of it, particularly in digital marketing as well. I'm not going to go through each one of these. Like I said, this was a whole webinar the other day. So why you do what you do, looking at the research, the trends, who you want to interact with, what their needs are, which is super important. What are the benefits? How do they gain from what you do? How you want to be known to them, that's talking more around brand. What they're interested in, what they're going to engage with, how are you going to catch their initial attention? Where are they going to be hanging out? This is important massively in digital marketing because we need to get them on the right channels then. And then it's looking at 3 actions to move them down the funnel, just to get them to do something. And then looking at the actual types of content. We're going to go through some of these things today as well. So typically my slides messed up. Oh no, there we go. Yay. So this is just a bit of a representation. It's not a perfect representation of how marketing can work. So the central point there is a website. And there's so many different facets of marketing, but it pays to have a multi-channel approach. And the point of this slide really is just to show you that everything is linked. So what searches on Google, that's blogs over on the right hand side there, your social media channels at the bottom, video, your ads and emails as well, all linking back and interlinked through each other as well. Lee's just going to mention something about the marketing wheel, if that's all right.
Yeah, so some of you being marketers, you might have heard of the flywheel model, and this kind of illustrates it really well, in fact. Marketing is always a continuous evolving thing. It shouldn't be a start and stop model, and how different forms of communication integrate with each other, as you can see with the blog posts, with social media, driving traffic to the website, remarketing back. You have to think of this as a continuous flywheel. You know, customers likely do not just do one purchase with you, or are not just one donor, for example. They might come back and donate multiple times. So how can you get this working in a flywheel model where you can have it revolving? So like a revolving door. So it doesn't just stop at the bottom of the funnel. You take them back up to the top of the funnel and away you go again. So having all these different facets to your marketing strategy can massively help. There's tons of different types of social media. Obviously TikTok has had quite a big meteoric rise, if you like, in recent months. Facebook is fantastic, YouTube, etc. So just think about how you can use the different tools at your disposal to capture attention and to convert them into customers a bit later on. And I think Rich will talk about funnels in a bit more detail and how you can get customers out at the bottom from leads at the top.
So yes, this is one approach to it. Because this is digital marketing simplified, I wanted to look at a bit of a more standard model that's probably not as confusing as that slide I've drawn up there. So it's an old school marketing approach, really, and it particularly works when driving people down towards a point that you want them to get to. So we look at building awareness, then they enter a consideration phase. And it's all the while driving towards what you want them to do, which is make a decision or a purchase or a donation. And to go into that in a little bit more detail, on slides, there we go. So at the top of the funnel, we want to, it's about volume. It's about just getting out there. And these are just examples, so this isn't a definitive thing, and it might not necessarily work for your organization, but just to give you a bit of an idea of how this could work. So we'll put a lot of effort into filling the top of that funnel. So, and that's building that brand awareness. So we might have a strategy that looks at, we want to get Google. So we'll do a lot of work around SEO, a little bit more of a medium to long-term strategy. We'll also make sure that we want to do lots of social media posting. Again, making sure we go back to our strategy and we're answering those right questions though. And we'll sort of support that with ads, so social media or Google ads, or various different types of ads as well. And we might decide over on the left-hand side that actually this awareness piece, we're just going to do solely with videos as a content method. And this is how we're going to drive the engagement, because that's what works with our potential customers. That's what they engage with. Once we've got them made aware, we need to have them do some kind of engagement with us. Now, the common ones are social media follows. That is a good measure of moving them into a consideration phase, or signing up to get email updates or email newsletters, whatever that might be, but capturing that email. That's a good way to measure this process as well. So when they come into that phase, we might go, right, well, we're going to support this by then putting out lots of blog content from our website, but on social media and via the emails as well. And once we've got them into that emails, you'll see the 1, 2, 3 here on the side. We want to move them in. We want to look at automating that process, because time is short in charities, particularly smaller charities as well. So if we capture their emails, setting up an automated few steps, few emails that go out 7 days apart, for example, that drives them towards making a decision, the asks get a little bit stronger each time to drive them back to the website to donate or purchase one of our products. And it's the same with social media. The people on the right hand side, we want to integrate offline activity into this as well. So capture emails, get people to follow us on social media. It makes the process of building a digital marketing strategy and plan just that much easier if you've got a clear process to follow. And just as well on the right hand side, just giving an example of figures. So we might go, we've got this particular campaign. It's we were talking about this before, myself and Lee, but let's call it Sponsor a Leopard. But we want to sponsor a husband and wife pair of leopards, and we've got £500 to spend on that. But obviously, we want to make money back on that as well. So we know how much we're spending. We know how many visits we need to the website to generate so many donations. So we might need 100 website visits, and from those, we're really looking to capture at least 10 emails or have 20 social media follows. Now, the bit in the middle, the consideration phase, can take quite a bit of time. It's averaged around about 8 touch points. So someone has to see your content or your brand around about 8 times before they either engage with you or make a decision about working with you, donating to you. So that bit in the middle is time, and it's about consistency, but it's always about giving that value. We might come out at the end of it where we've got £1,500 of donations out of this particular campaign, so a return of £3 to every pound spent. That'd be that's a decent campaign. You probably want to look at more than that from spend, but you're making money, so who's to complain about that? And this is just a simple way of building up campaigns and measuring them as well, which is so important. But we've got a little bit more about that later, and also Lee's got a more detailed webinar about that in a week or two, I think.
Yeah, it is. It's like you said, Rich, it's crucial to track, because if you don't track, you don't know what's going on, and if you don't know what's going on, you can't adapt your strategy to match. So it's crucial.
Cool. So I want to talk about some of these individual components, what from a digital marketing point of view, and generally speaking, I'm going to make up a percentage here, but 90 to 95% of organizations, the website should be the absolute main hub of everything that you do. This is where you want to drive traffic back to. I'm going to talk about call to actions just in a little bit, where we talk about different types of content and channels. But trying to drive people back to the website is so important. And just a few tips around websites in general. And I've worked in web development for a good 10 years now, and marketing as well. So it's really important to always think about the customer and having clear, easy journeys. Is it clear what you want them to do? Are you making it clear in the statements that you're making? Are you making it easy to navigate on the website? Having a constant ask. So that's not having donating big flashing writing every couple of letters, but it's small asks. Sign up to the newsletter, follow us on social. Yes, have donate buttons on there, because otherwise people won't if you don't tell them to do it. It's really important. It's also massive, and I see this all too often, where any organization talks about themselves. This is what we do. We have done this. We sell this. Well, it's not about you. It's about the people coming to the site, whoever that is. It could be your service users. It could be corporate partners. Always talk about the benefits to them, what's in it for them, and really focus on the things that you're doing for other people. So particularly with charities and social enterprise, massive focus on the impact that you're having in society. Hopefully it's needless to say, but make sure that it's optimized for mobile viewing. There's nothing more frustrating than going on a site and you've got to actually scroll across on your phone and things like that. But make the journeys easy on mobile as well. Have it clearer. It's such a huge percentage of people that just visit websites on the phone. And one of the things that a big bugbear of mine actually, and this is more for internal process, make sure that you have control to be able to update your website, because speed is really important. Control, you want to change things. Make sure you've got that control. I'm just going to do a really quick example here of a site, just to give you some ideas about this. We've got very clear donate now up in the top right. It's visually nice, and as we scroll down, it's very clear who we want to engage with. We've then got a few asks. It's very clear in the first couple of scrolls what it is that we do. We're talking about the person behind this particular foundation. We've got another ask: sign up to our newsletter. We talk about the impact that we're doing. We've got another ask. We've got another ask here, even though it's in a different format. So it's just, and then we've obviously got the social proof here as well. So it's just really important to make sure that it's clear, easy to navigate. And if I'm a corporate, I know exactly where to go without having to go too far on the site there as well. So that's it on website. Like I said, we've got a lot to get through, so I'm going to hopefully not go too quick, but again, we can ask questions as we go and we'll try and answer them. So obviously social media is key to any digital marketing strategy. And I just want to give just simple tips for this. Again, if we go back to, yes, we've built this strategy, I want to make that assumption. We've got the strategy, we've got our messaging, we know who we're targeting. For charities in particular, it's really important to educate people about your cause. That's the primary way that you'll get engagements and donations, and showing the impact that you're having. That's how you'll build a fan base. Yes, mix that in with asks in there. Otherwise, again, you need to. It's not going to be good for you either as a charity. You're not going to be able to continue the services. And always give values. A funny one, particularly charities, but a value to somebody might be the feel-good factor. They want to see something emotional. They want to see happy stories. They actually want value, though. So if you're a corporate, give that. If you're advertising to a corporate, give that value that's going to solve a problem for them, or something that they can use in their own lives. It's really key. And always have a call to action. This generally should be back to your website. Whatever the ask is, share. You could ask a question to get a bit of engagement. Could be a link that goes back to the website that has good calls to actions on it itself for donations and things like that. And just build a simple plan. All too often, social media can be overwhelming and confusing at times, and stressful. Sort of a proven method that I've used with customers is you just build a really simple plan, and we go, right, we know what kinds of content our customers are going to engage with. We know what types, we know where they're going to be. So we build a simple structure like this. Sometimes it gets a touch more complicated than this because we have different channels, but we want to put out, we're running a charity event, we want to put out a client story, we want to do a video of something, it doesn't really matter. But the massive benefits of this are, you know, a month in advance what you want to put out. You know that this is going to cover all the streams that you need to cover. And then what you can do is basically plan ahead. You can gather that content. It's not last minute. The content's going to be better. It's going to have much more impact than it would if you're doing it overly ad hoc. And this space is in here for ad hoc things. I appreciate that. You'll want to have direct asks in here for donate and specific campaigns. But having this structure makes such a difference to a lot of the charities and social enterprise I've worked with. And then you can line it up if you want to, if you're really short on time, in something like Hootsuite. It's almost out of sight, out of mind, but yes, obviously you've got to follow up the engagements on these things as well. So again, this data is from HubSpot. They're good 7,000 to 8,000 people surveyed across many different industries. But we look at the most successful types of content on social media, photos and imagery, it's so key to have quality photos and imagery and connecting photos and imagery, followed by videos. Text-based posts still work, but if you're going to just stick to a couple of types, it's definitely going to be videos and photos. And Lee was slightly surprised by this stat. Slightly surprised by this stat earlier. But Facebook gives the biggest ROI. It is the biggest platform, apart from YouTube, to be fair, which has more monthly engagements, particularly in the UK. But Facebook is, from a return on investment point of view, is massive. And fortunately, Rory, who's on the call today, will be doing a Facebook ads webinar on the 11th, I think, next Tuesday. I could have got the date wrong. Anyway, it's on the site. So yeah, make sure that you're going to be building a return on investment from this as well. There's got to have a point to it on. Email is still one of the best ways, particularly for charities and social enterprise, but businesses as well, to generate interest sales if it's done right. Capturing the email addresses are really, really important, because in theory as well, they're about the only thing you own of a customer in a way. That sounds a bit weird, but because social channels could revoke your access at any point. They could close down. I'm not saying they're going to. Well, Trump might want to say that, but they could close down. You don't own that customer relationship on the social channels, weirdly. So emails are super important, and you can, if done right, get some super good engagement from it. So build processes with your emails, like we mentioned a little bit before, when we're talking about in the consideration phase. When somebody gets in touch with you, so they might, it just might be, they get in touch about an event. So they want to run an event for you, or they want to run in an event for you, more to the point. Great. Then you want to send them some tips that are going to help them. So you might want to send them some running tips, some training tips, a training plan. You can automate those emails, so you're not having to do that individually, and it can be personalized as well. They're much more likely then to run for you in the future. It's about long-term lifetime value for this as well. Similarly, if somebody donates, automated thank you email, follow up a week or two later with, this is what your donation has meant to the people we work with, these kinds of things. Get that automated in there and segment those emails. So when somebody signs up for a run, they're in the running category. And somebody donates, they're in the donate category. So that way, content that's going out to them is personalized. I'm going to show you a stat in a second that really gives the reason why that should be done. And use people images or animal images if your charity is working with animals. Use those people images. They have such a massive effect, and use them within the emails. Using videos within emails increases engagement rates and increases donations as well. But make sure you use those in there. People have different reactions to content from a visual learning styles as well. And ask for specific things. Well, you can, but I'd not advise going, donate to our charity, we need your help. You can do that, and you might get some donations from it. But if you say, donate, we need this room for these children redecorating, you're going to get much higher conversion rates on those particular emails. So have specific asks. So like the leopards we were talking about before, give them names. It's just little things, but linking people, making them connect with these things as well. So use email, it's a massively powerful tool. And this is, again, what the company's tactics are. And these tactics are based on data. Message personalization is key. Mobile-friendly emails. Using the automation, like I said, and segmenting those subscribers. You'll reap the rewards from doing it and spending the time doing it as well. Cool, over to Lee. I'm going to stop for a second.
Thank you, Rich. So I'm just going to come on to these topics quite briefly. We are doing future webinars. One is about how to generate more work through Google, and one is about how to track. So I will be just kind of touching over these quite quickly. But if you do have any questions, especially on this webinar, please do ask. There is quite a lot of content in here and quite a lot of detail. So please feel free to ask if anything isn't clear. So first of all, what is SEO? So many people talk about it. Do you know what it actually physically is? So it stands for search engine optimization, and it's the process of ranking your website higher, primarily in Google search, because they have a 96% share of the market. You can obviously improve your rankings on Bing and search engines like that, but you won't see anywhere near as much impact as optimizing it for Google. And there are two distinct types of SEO. So on page and off page, and that's what we're going to talk about today in the SEO section. Next slide, please, Rich. So I'm going to talk a little bit about on page and what on page is, and tips and tricks that you can use to improve your on-page SEO. So what is on-page SEO, first of all? So on-page SEO is everything that you can control on your own website. Okay, so if you think about your content, your speed, your website, accessibility, some things that Rich talked about, how the flow through your website, calls to actions, etc. So the first one, and this one is a little bit difficult to execute if you're trying to do it yourself, but there are small little things you can do to improve this, and it's to improve your site speed. So you can test this on a few different tools. So GT Metrics is one that we use in the agency to test speed and to output suggestions. You can use tools like Pingdom tools and Page Speed Insights by Google. However, Page Speed Insights is a little buggy and sometimes doesn't give you as clear answers as what you'd like. So you may need a developer for this stage, but it's really crucial that you do it because speed directly impacts SEO ranking now quite recently. So they changed that. It didn't used to be the case, but it is now. Optimize your images. This is really, really important. Don't upload 5-6 meg images onto your website, because that will really slow down your website, especially for people who are accessing your website on 3G or 4G connections on mobile. So if it is 4 meg, don't upload it, shrink it down first. You can use online tools to do it, or things like Photoshop to reduce the size. If your website is in WordPress, you can even have plugins which do the job for you. So that can be a really, really easy, quick win and well worth doing. Number 3 is make your content as in-depth as you can. So if you are talking about cancer support, can you answer every single question that person might have regarding support? You know, what the process is, what they are likely to expect going through the journey, what kind of support they can get from the charity and other like-for-like charities or the NHS. FAQs are very good for this, as well as having a lot of in-depth content. Don't make your page too overwhelming, so think about the design, how you can hide little piece of text in places to still make it feel quite light and appealing to people. Better content ranks better in Google. Okay. The 4th one is to link to other relevant pages on your website. So this is also called internal linking. And you can also link to external websites. However, they will then leave your website. So ideally, you don't want to do that. You'd like to have a piece of content on your own website which talks about what that external website might talk about. By doing this, you increase relevance on the page, which helps your Google ranking. And you also pass what is called link equity to other pages to help those to rank higher in Google. So how you link internally in your own website, especially if it's a very big website, is really important. You don't want people struggling to find pages. Make it nice and easy and accessible. And links which are in the body copy inside the actual page, not in navigation, have a lot more weight in Google search. So make sure that you internal link very well. The The next one is really simple but really important, and we see this quite often, Rich, don't we, with website hosting, where it's hosted on a cheap kind of host like GoDaddy, for example, because of such a big name, and it creates so many issues for your site speed. So it's well worth spending what the equivalent of a coffee a month on better website hosting. It will considerably improve your website speed. One that we use in the agency is Crystal, and if you're a charity, your hosting is 100% free with those guys too. So there is no reason not to go with those guys. It's fantastically fast hosting, and it's 100% free for charities. So think about companies like Crystal when you're looking for website hosting.
Yeah, we use Crystal as well. Yeah,
they're a fantastic host, and the support is great as well. Lastly is alt tags, and this actually flows into accessibility into your website. So make sure you're describing the images that you have on your website. Alt tags help with your SEO. They help with image search SEO, so when people are searching for images and the images come up. But it's also used by screen readers. So people who have difficulty seeing, for example, may use a screen reader. If you do not put alt tags onto your images, that person with a screen reader cannot read what your image is trying to say on your page. So please make sure that you use alt tags on your images for accessibility, but it's also very good for your SEO. So it's a really good all-round thing to do. And it's really simple to do in WordPress. So the next type of SEO is off-page SEO. So this is everything which happens outside of your website, okay, which you don't necessarily have direct control of. So the first tip is to create really quality content that people want to share and engage with. So this flows into what Rich talked about previously about the social media strategy, and making sure that it's great quality content rather than just a whole load of waffle. Play on emotions if you can with the content. All right, if you can invoke emotions, people want to share the content more, they want to engage with it, and when they share these pieces of content, they create links into your website. When they create links into your website, that helps with your Google ranking. So you can use things like blogs, for example, to create that kind of content. You can create infographics, maybe interactive video, maybe interactive websites, maybe to help people find groups in their area or something, and look at trends and see how you can use trends to amplify your impact and your visibility. So I'm sure, as everybody is aware, the Black Lives Matter movement is really important at the moment, and is gathering a lot of steam. And a lot of the brands like Nike have been very good at sharing content, supporting the movement, which shows, number one, that they're an ethical company which care about these kind of problems and issues in society. But number two, it's content which is really shareable. One of those posts, I think, had 80,000 likes on it and lots of retweets. So from a company perspective, it's great visibility for those guys, and it supports these causes. So it's a no-brainer for companies to get involved in things like that. Number two is to check your citations for consistency. So in the agency, we use a tool called Bright Local to do this. And I do think they have a free version that you can use, or a trial at least. And what this does is it searches online for everywhere that mentions your company or charity, and it tells you how consistent they are. So that's your phone number, your business name, your website address, your email. So make sure that everything is consistent through there. If it is not consistent, that will harm your ranking, especially if you're trying to rank for local SEO, so in local areas. The third one is build out more citations. So if you only have 5, we saw one company quite recently where had 1 citation, which is quite unusual, just with a local area. I think they thought that it's not a good thing to be on lots, but build out more citations, because the more relevant, high quality citations you have, the better your Google ranking will be. So next is about Google My Business. improve your Google My Business profile, and we'll talk about this a little bit in the slide. But make sure you fill all the information in. Make sure that you've put in reviews to your listing, and you implement processes. So like Rich said with the email marketing, are you asking for reviews? Are you asking for feedback with that email marketing too, as well as just promoting the charity and your own? And get good links from partnerships. So this is something that is very underutilized. Have a look at how you can take your offline partnerships and bring them online. So if you work with a local council, can you get a link from the local council to your website, which can help your SEO? If you can, fantastic, well worth doing. So try and tap into those offline partnerships if you can, and ask these companies for a link back to your website. It will massively help your SEO and will help you to rank for more terms and have a bigger impact online. Next slide, please, Rich. So, what can SEO do for you as a business or a charity? So we talked about it as one piece of the strategy. So this is real data from one of our clients for May that has just gone. And on the left-hand side, you can see the graph. Now, usually these guys are a seasonal business, and they're actually ranking #1 for a lot of their search terms in their area. So as you can see with the graph, August 2019 was a fairly good year for them. They broke a lot of records with that one. However, so these guys do waste management, it's worth noting, so skips and things like that. When the lockdown came in April, it went absolutely crazy for them. But because they were ranking #1 for a lot of their search terms, they were in a position to benefit from the lockdown. If they weren't ranking well and if they didn't do all the SEO work prior, they wouldn't have got this extra traffic and this extra business. So underneath, you can see total gross sales of 116,000 for a 1-month period, which absolutely smashed records. I think more than double what they've previously done in sales, which is absolutely fantastic. And in a later webinar, we'll show you how to create reports like this below. So this report is a 100% live report with live data that pulls in from different places. And it's really good for reporting data to stakeholders, management, owners of businesses or of charities, or to the board. And it reduces the amount of work you need to do as a marketing consultant. So it's a win-win, really. So this is what SEO has done for one of our clients. If you invest in SEO and think about it, what could it do for your charity or business? A tool you can use is Moz and Uber Suggest. And if you use that tool, you can see how many people search for your keywords. It's a tool we use in the initial discovery phase of a website project. So they're well worth using. Next slide, please, Rich. So just moving on to PPC, or pay-per-click advertising. So it is literally you pay per click. So you pay a set amount per clicks. The amount you pay depends on things like quality score. So how well is your website for attracting those kind of clicks. So if you sell lemonade and you're trying to rank for terms which are buy lemonade, your quality score will be really good. If you're trying to rank for terms like buy cola and you just sell lemonade, then your quality score is not going to be very good, and you're going to have to spend a lot of money to get clicks for those terms. Okay, so examples include Google Ads and Bing Ads. Google Ads, of course, have the major share of the market. Bing Ads, not so much, but it's worth looking at both, and you can get vouchers for both, actually, if you've never used them before. Next slide, please, Rich. So this is kind of really big news and can be really impactful for charities. And it was even something we weren't that aware of as a business for a good few years, actually, as an agency, because Google don't tend to shout about it very much. But as a charity, you can get free ad credit from Google and up to $10,000 per month. So if you visit google.com/grants, you can get more information on those grants. You do have to go through a process to be accepted onto the program, and you do have to meet certain thresholds of performance on your campaign. But if you can get $10,000 worth of free advertising, that's $120K per year. Just think what you can do with that money for your charity, how much impact you can have. So just as a demonstration, if a click was $1, let's say, so about 80 pence, it could be worth 10,000 clicks. If you can convert 3% of those, which is the average on the web, that could be 300 sales or donations per month for no spend for your charity. So what kind of impact can that have? It can have an absolutely enormous impact for your charity. So if you are a charity or you work with charities, then please look at Google Ad Grants. They are there for you to use. Make use of them now because they are fantastic. And we've looked at this, haven't we, Rich, for clients in the past that we've worked with. And we're just working with another client actually on Google Ad Grants and doing the campaign. But I'll give you a few tips and tricks on the next slide about how to better optimize your campaign, because there is some kind of pitfalls that people fall victim to. So when you create or get accepted to Google Ads Grant, they put you on what's called Google Ads Express or AdWords Express. It is absolutely terrible. Don't use it because you have very little control over your campaign. So try and get off of AdWords Express, Ads Express as quickly as you can. And I would think about consulting with an agency. I like how Google call it. They call it expert mode with the ads, but it opens up a lot of options. First tip is don't use broad match keywords. So when you use broad match keywords, it can match it to a lot of keywords. It can burn your budget really quickly, and you can get a very low ROI from that. So try to avoid them at all costs. Use phrase and exact match inside of Google Ads. Segment your campaigns as much as possible. So Rich previously talked about segmenting email campaigns. Do the same for Google Ads. So if you have different facets to your business or charity, then have different ad groups or campaigns for those different facets of the business. You really want to tailor the ads and the messaging as much as you can to those different services that you're trying to promote. It will also help your quality score, so you spend less money and you'll get a better, much better conversion rate on your campaign when you do that. The next one is to implement remarketing, so to get the best return from ad spend. So remarketing can be incredibly cheap, but incredibly effective. And you don't have to use Google Ads remarketing. You can use Facebook remarketing or LinkedIn remarketing, depending on your audience. Okay. If you don't know what remarketing is, it's essentially those ads which seem to stalk you. So if you've ever looked at a lawnmower on Amazon, for example, and you go onto Facebook and you see an ad for a lawnmower from Amazon, you go, oh my gosh, you know, they're listening in to me. No, it's not that. They are looking at your browsing interests. There's a little piece of code that you can implement onto your website, and it allows them to remarket to you then on Facebook with that same product, with the hope that you click on the product and then you make a purchase or a purchasing decision. The next one is track. Now I'll be covering this in the Making Data Work For You kind of webinar, but set up conversions and track them in Google Ads. Now it's not always straightforward to set up conversions, and in that webinar we'll talk through it step by step on how to create conversions for different goals, but it's so crucial, because if you do not set up conversions, then you do not know the success of your campaign. And if you don't know the success of your campaign, how can you tailor your campaign or make it better? You can't. And if you're not getting the Google Ads grant and you're spending your own money as a business or a charity, then it can be just like flushing money down the drain. So setting up conversions and tracking them is super crucial. And once you do that, you can put them into a live report like I showed previously in the slides. So super important. And lastly, I'd speak to an agency about Google Ads. So a good digital agency will generate far more than they cost you in ad spend and management fees. Okay, they'll get you a great return investment, and they'll be able to tailor your campaign Some agencies will create the campaign for you and then give you some training to help you actually manage that campaign yourself, so you can do it in-house. So it's well worth looking at that and looking at options. There's plenty of really great agencies out there like Rich's, who would like to give their time for free to help businesses, and especially in this pandemic, we're trying to do all we can to help businesses to survive and thrive in the pandemic. So it's incredibly important. Next slide, please, Rich. So I'm just going to quickly go over Google My Business, which is your primary marketing tool.
Just quickly. So if people do, we did say it was 40 minutes, but if people do need to go, don't worry. We'll send you the recording of the rest of this. But feel free to stay around, obviously. But just wanted to mention it at that point.
Yes. No worries. So Google My Business. So if you don't have a Google My Business listing or GMB listing, you can create one for free. If you Google My Business, it'll come up with the links. And it includes key information, so opening times, business website, business name, number. And it can really be a lead generation machine. So as you saw on one of those reports previously, I think it was 750 calls that business received in there. That was all through the Google My Business. So it's really impactful and really powerful when you use it well. Next slide, please, Rich. So it can appear in service plus location. So if you think of, for this particular one, Skip Hire Guiseley as a search term. So Skip Hire is the service, Guiseley is the location. Or when people are searching for a service locally. So if you think of just Skip Hire, but Google can track your IP and know where you're searching from to tailor the results. Okay. But to improve your ranking position in local search, you need three things. So prominence, relevance, and proximity to the searcher. So prominence is about how many links you have, essentially, how well you're linked from different things. Relevance is how relevant you are to a user who is searching for your services. So if you're a Skip Hire company, do you mention Skip Hire on your website and waste management? And then proximity, you can't really do much about. However, just think about whether you could have multiple locations as your charity, for example, which feeds into this strategy. But if you improve your prominence and your relevance, proximity becomes less of a factor. But I will be talking about steps that you can take to improve prominence, relevance, and proximity in my next webinar, which is about how to generate business through Google. So I'll be touching on that in a lot of detail in probably about 10 slides and giving you really actionable tips to improve that. Next slide, please, Rich. So these are just some really quick tips to optimize your Google My Business profile. So claim or create your profile. So if you haven't already got one, create one. If one already exists online and this is possible, not a lot of people actually know this, but somebody else could claim your listing, for example, and hijack your business if it's been auto-generated and no one has claimed it. We actually had this with a client previously that we had to fix. So make sure you claim it if it's already out there. Complete as much information as you can as well on the campaign, so don't leave information out. Build citations online, so we talked previously about that. That improves your local ranking in your GMB. And make sure your info is consistent across the web and edit existing listings. Again, we covered that in a little bit of detail previously. But you need to make sure opening hours, email address, website are all consistent and business in. You'll be surprised, and especially if you've moved address multiple times, how many of these listings actually exist on the website. Number 5 is to encourage people to leave reviews. So implement these processes to get people to leave reviews in your profiles. Really important, but people often don't do it.
They're not allowing reviews at the moment, are they? I don't think.
No, they've actually released it, so they do now.
Have they? Oh, cool. Good to know. Cheers, mate.
About 2 weeks ago, they lifted the kind of pause on the reviews and started letting people leave reviews again. So yeah, it's worth noting if you didn't see any reviews for 2 months, Google did actually stop people from leaving reviews. So that's why you didn't get any reviews, if you like, in the past 2 months. So thank you for that, Rich. And just another note, so just make sure that you tune into the Getting Customers to Come to You through Google, where we'll talk about these processes in more detail and how to physically optimize them, and talk through the profile and places to go, etc. And other lead generation tactics. So that is on the 9th of June. I hope to see everybody there. It'll be a great webinar, I think. And now over to you, Rich.
Just going to wrap up. Just got a few minutes left, so thanks for hanging about. Cheers, Lee. That was awesome. So just as it was one of the primary engagement methods from a digital marketing point of view, just to quickly talk about video, and it is really easier than you might think. People are fine with videos taken on phones. There's plenty of free editing software out there that's super easy to use if you've got a Mac. There's the editor on there. There's even Windows Movie Maker to an extent. But there's other just amazing software that's out there to be able to do these things. I was talking through with a charity yesterday. Things like Canva, where you can make mini animations just from a couple of different slides. So you don't have to be technical to do these things, but they can have huge impact, massively more engaged. If it's more of a spoken video, then try and subtitle them. Again, plenty of software out there and free stuff to be able to do that, but you'll get so much more engagement. I think it's around about 80% of people watch videos without sound on the phone. But I thought it was an incredible stat. Take that with a pinch of salt, but that's the stat I saw the other day when I was researching this. And tell the stories, so particularly for charities, tell your stories through videos. Ask your service users to send in videos. Try and do it as much as you can with permissions, obviously. Just try and take little videos all the time. Just makes such a difference to any digital marketing campaign. And bear in mind the first 5 seconds is the most important. People's attention spans, not necessarily attention spans, but because the world is so busy and social media is so busy, that's all the time they'll have to give to you. It's 5 seconds. If they don't like it after that, they'll move on to something else. And it's probably shorter than that, if I'm honest. And try and keep videos to around 30 seconds, unless it's a really big informational one, but for social media, short form, around 30 seconds. And again, I know I've mentioned it, but have a call to action. So put that in the video or alongside the video in some way, shape or form. So I said so this is the kind of content that is being used. So find product or service promotion. Customer case studies are on the rise. So testimonials, social engagement, again, similar things. Getting other people involved doing videos on your behalf as well, which is amazing. But storytelling is massive. So really make sure that you embed video into your campaigns, and it is easier than you might think. So overall, just to summarize, have the strategy, have a plan, get those processes, a bit of automation in place. So important to set goals and track everything you're doing. Emails and follows are key. Getting people to your website is key as well. Not just using social media as a channel, try and use multi-channel approaches, and don't just look at a short-term quick wins. So if you're forever doing that, you'll just drive yourselves insane. Have a bit more of a long-term approach to things as well. And the way you would really get engagement is personalize as much as you possibly can to your different groups. I forgot to mention on social channels, and ads, I'm sure Rory's going to talk about it. Rory's gone, he's probably busy. He'll talk about it on the webinar next week, but you can really personalize your posts out to different groups, your customer groups as well. So personalize stuff where you can. So we did say we had a lot to get through. Thanks for coming along this morning. We'll still hang about for questions if people want them. But this is so I've left the old webinars on there as well. But we've got next week Getting Customers to Come to You through Google, which will be Lee. And then Rory, like I say, we don't press the boost button on the 11th. And then Lee again, using marketing data for impact. We'll put the recording of this on our website. We'll send you an email to let you know where that is, where you can book these next sessions as well. But like I say, thanks for coming along. And does anybody have any questions they'd like to pose to either myself or Lee? You're muted, Lee. You may as well.
Yeah, there you go. I was like a weird movie then, wasn't I? So it's the awkward silence. I guess that's it now.
So I'll give it a minute. Like I say, we've gone through a lot there. So if you have questions later, we'll be sending out the details of this today and put the slides on there as well. So you can always come back to us with more detailed questions if you want as well.
No, I think it's all good now. I think.
Cool. Yep. We'll call it a day. We must have just covered everything perfectly then. But like I say, if you've got any questions later, feel free to get in touch. We're here to help. So thanks a lot again for coming. Take care. Have a good rest of your week.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.